Welcome to the Smart Business Revolution.
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 You want a revolution?
You say you want a revolution?
Revolution. The revolution.
It's going on right now.
Welcome to The Revolution, the Smart Business Revolution podcast, where we ask today's most successful entrepreneurs to share the tools and strategies they use to build relationships and connections to grow their revenue. Now, your host for The Revolution, John Corcoran.
All right, welcome everyone. John Corcoran here. I'm the host of this show. Check out some of our past interviews with smart CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs of companies ranging from Netflix to Kinko's, YPO, EO, Activation Blizzard. Lots of great episodes for you to check out. I'm also the co-founder of Rise 25, where we help connect B2B business owners to their ideal prospects. And I want to give a quick shout out to one of my past guests, Marty McDonald of Bad Rhino. He recommended today's guest, who is Justin Christianson. He's a former, I'm going to call him, pro bull rider. He might take issue with that description. He's got a great story about riding bulls, partially for a living, turned digital marketer. He's also the co-founder and president at Conversion Fanatics, which is a conversion rate optimization company, which if you don't know what that is, you got to listen to this episode because it is incredibly important in today's digital world that we live in. They've worked with a few companies you may have heard of, like Burt's Bees, Renew Life, Paleo Valley, Lumber Liquidators, Ministry of Supply, and many more, helping them to increase conversion and marketing performance. He's also the author of Conversion Fanatic, How to Double Your Customer Sales and Profits with A/B Testing. And I just absolutely love his business name. So we're going to ask him about that as well, how it got its name. But this episode is brought to you by Rise 25 Media, where we help B2B businesses to get clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships with done for you podcasts and content marketing. If you're listening to this and you've ever thought, should I start a podcast for my business? We say yes. Go to rise25media.com. You'll learn about why it's one of the best things you could ever do for your business. All right, Justin, such a pleasure to have you here today. And first, let's start with bull riding. You grew up in the bull riding capital of the world. Not really, North Dakota. I'm not sure exactly how you got so into bull riding at a young age in North Dakota. Tell me how you got into that.
Yeah, I actually grew up small farming community in rural North Dakota, and we had cows and horses and all of those things. My dad was a former rodeo bull rider before even my time. And just some friends had mutual agreements and kind of interests. And we just started riding steers, and anything we could pretty much put a rope on and climb on their back, we were riding them. And that kind of morphed into, when I was about 13, into competitive bull riding. So I started entering rodeos and competing, and I'd spent better part of 9 years until I got hurt and put in the hospital for a week. Took an ambulance ride, all that fun stuff that happens when you climb aboard animals that are bigger than you.
So what happened? I
got stepped on and ended up having to go to surgery and spent 6.5 days in the hospital.
Wow.
So that was my last one in 2001, I think was my last bull ride. So yeah,
Do you remember it happening, or was it?
Oh yeah, I remember all of it. I remember the ambulance ride. I remember talking to the doctors and nurses, getting wheeled. I remember all of it.
Wow.
So yeah, I definitely remember all that. But that morphed into competing in bull riding, and really what that did for me, that kind of catapulted my business career too, and tie it back to business. Yes, it is kind of cool talking about bull riding, but my mom actually said it best. She said it really gave you a ton of confidence. And it kind of took me from just kind of go with the flow kind of guy to being a little more assertive and having that confidence to kind of step into any situation. As it's not just for something to do as a bull rider. You're having to go in and give it your all, just like any other type of athlete. But so that ended in a hospital stay, and my dad basically saying that I'll never talk to you again if you ride bulls again. So,
wow. So was it the hospital stay, or was it what your dad said to you that led you to stop doing it?
Oh, it was a hospital stay. I didn't have any desire after that one.
Yeah.
I did. It's kind of, it's an adrenaline rush. So just like any extreme sport.
Right.
And yeah, I just couldn't take any more of the because the many months of recovery and all that went into it.
Right.
And for what, I wasn't getting rich being a bull rider. That's for sure.
Yeah. Right. So, but certainly I can see how, if you strap yourself onto a 2,000 pound or whatever, 5,000 pound animal that's really pissed and determined to get you off of their back, that, going up against some new potential client is not that intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, it has its moments, but for sure. But no, I mean, it definitely drove a lot of confidence out, and I see that carrying over. I never realized it really, but my mom really said it the best just a couple of years ago, telling me about that. And
so you get into digital marketing around the same time. Was that before you stopped doing the bull riding? Was it after? How did
a little bit after
digital marketing? 2001,
a little bit
by the
after.
way. I mean, super early days.
Yeah. I mean, 2001-ish, I got introduced to network marketing actually as my first kind of foray into it, which I figured out very quickly that I did not like bumping into people at the grocery store and asking them if they wanted to make some extra money. Found personal development through that. So I'm very grateful for that. But I found internet marketing and lead gen and being able to, what do you mean I can just put a page up? And back then it was a Wild West. So you can rank for key terms in an afternoon, so it was easy, whether you knew what you were doing or not, which at that time I didn't. But we kind of moved up the affiliate ranks, still kind of in the network marketing space, and became number one affiliate for a company through internet marketing. And then I became a partner of that company. And I was doing a lot of. They
probably saw like this is our number one affiliate. He's driving a ton of traffic to us. We should bring him in.
Yeah. So we came in and I started working hand in hand with them and one other partner. So there's three of us, and we grew it like 450% the first year and another like almost 200% the next year together. And, did some amazing things. We did the $1 million product launch. We did all of those fun things that come about. And, I was always publishing some information about split tests, and I was always fascinated about what makes people tick. And they're buying, you mean I can change one little thing and it'll make them do more of what it is that I want them to do or less, and the fascination of the psychology of buying and desired actions and on the internet just was really fascinating to me. So I guess it's about 12 years ago now, I decided my time was done there. I just wasn't loving it anymore. So I sold my partnership back to my partners and kind of went out on private consultancy, doing implementation, optimization kind of stuff, setting up landing pages and help people really dial in their marketing campaigns, and was a one-man show for a couple of years. And was doing it, I was managing 9 or 10 clients by myself and just an outsourced designer. And
boy, I mean, back then you had so fewer tools back then. I mean, 2001, you had no tools, no visual website optimizer, no Optimizely, no WordPress even back then. But even 12 years ago, a lot fewer tools, I imagine, as well.
Yeah. I mean, we had to homegrown a lot of stuff.
Build your own things. Yeah.
Out of that. But I mean, that's the kind of the onslaught of things like lead pages and those things kind of started to become a thing. So it made it a little bit easier than trying to build it in Microsoft Front Page and uploading it to a server, which was what we had to do years ago.
Yeah.
And I figured out that, everybody was preaching traffic at the time. So, they still do.
Yeah.
But we thought about, what's the other piece of the puzzle and what's got us to, create these multi-million-dollar businesses? And that was the optimization piece. It wasn't necessarily getting eyeballs on it. It was converting those eyeballs.
Right.
And I partnered up with a longtime friend who I first met when I moved to Austin, and we decided to teach it. And we figured out quickly that nobody wanted to buy it. And they were just like, hey, can you just do this for me? And with that, Conversion Fanatics was born.
And how'd you come up with the name?
So we actually started out as ROI Society and ROI Masterclass because we were going to teach it and how to get better return on your investment from, your marketing efforts. And my business partner had this one-page website, literally had the logo. So the same logo that's on my jacket, the same logo that's on our website. He had it made by his outsourced designer at that time. and had a one-page simple website. And he sponsored a marketing event, and he needed a name that wasn't his normal company name. So he literally found the domain name, and it was between that and the name Biz Growers, which I'm glad we didn't go with at the time.
Just a lot more generic.
And I had bizgrowers.com, and I had a small little website kind of spun up using it for landing pages, et cetera. But yeah, we spun it up as Conversion Fanatics, stuck with the logo, and, just rolled up our sleeves and got to work. And we literally each threw $750 into a bank account. So started it with $1,500 and an idea, and a lot of grit and determination of not knowing what the heck and how to run a marketing agency, just that we knew how to market.
Right. And you hadn't built a team before, but he had. So you're bringing different skills to the table.
Yeah. And we're polar opposites.
Really? So talk a little bit about that, how the partnership has worked out.
So obviously, anytime somebody says partnership, they generally cringe a little bit. We've all probably had bad experiences in it. I know I have. And he and I have not butted heads one time in over 8 years. Because we are so polar opposites, and because we went into the relationship like, hey, we're not going to have egos in this. We're just going to do what needs to be done. And we're going to roll up our sleeves. We're going to use our best skill sets. We're going to adapt. We're going to evolve. We're going in 50-50. If we don't mutually agree on it, we don't do it.
Yeah.
And we literally, there's not a time that I can think of that we've butted heads any more than a little bit of banter to tell each other's sides of the story.
Yeah.
And then other than that, we've just, that's been it. So it's been very unique and very refreshing to have, such a business partner that has a different set of skills, but also we overlap in some areas too.
Yeah.
Both copywriters, both understand marketing psychology and split testing and optimization, but he's more systems, processes, spreadsheets. I'm more go fast, break stuff. And that balances each other out, because I can go make messes, and then he makes it into a system and process, gets the people in place to do it. And is much more of the manager side of things than I am.
Yeah, that's helpful. Talk to me about this. There's kind of a classic tension between going super niche and broader and trying to open yourself to different types of clients. And it's really encapsulated in your name around your decision what to name the business: Conversion Fanatics versus Biz Growers. Biz Growers super broad, right? Versus Conversion Fanatics. Did you find it was hard in the early days to find clients, or did you ever fear that you were too niche and this excludes us from providing other services to clients?
Yes, many times. And we've tried it all, like literally you name it. But what happened was our traditional, and you got to think, this is 8 years ago when CRO wasn't necessarily a term. It was very early, and people didn't really understand it. They knew they needed a split test, but they didn't understand what that involved. So it was very much an education factor that we had to educate the market very hard. So we couldn't just go out and place an ad, generate a lead, do all of that thing. We can now because we've been doing it so long, but before we had to go out and knock on virtual doors.
Yeah. Greater understanding now of what the need is in the market.
It's more mainstream now.
Yeah.
And we've got the brand recognition in those elements. So it's becoming easier for us to place an ad and get that predictive feedback. But before it was hard and we tried different packages, different pricing, different models, we tried doing other services like paid traffic. We tried doing all of those other things, and we just kept coming back to the core every single time. And it just became easier and easier, when we continually pushed. So we just kept preaching the same exact thing over and over and over. And we just used different vehicles to do it. Our philosophy on optimization and marketing hasn't necessarily changed at its core, but we've evolved. We've had smarter teams and processes and learnings, and we get to see more data and work with bigger brands. And we get to see all of those things that a business sees when you evolve. But, when it was early on, it was hard. I mean, we were sponsoring trade shows. We were going to events. We were speaking on any stage I could possibly get on. It was, I think one year I wrote 250 articles trying to rank I mean, I was banging out content left and right. Video, I mean, I was hustling, and I wrote the book in that time frame. We did, I mean, then we found outbound marketing we figured that we could optimize that. So we could get that direct feedback from that. So that's the rabbit hole we went down. Took a page right out of Salesforce and just pounded the virtual doors, essentially. And we got really good at it. We mailed, I don't even know, 600,000 some odd contacts between email, phone, direct mail, all of the traditional kind of solutions versus place an ad, get them to come to you. And it worked well. We grew about, 80% of our growth for a few years was that.
Wow.
And then everything, like I always say, marketers ruin everything. It got saturated. Everybody started scraping LinkedIn and doing, look at the cesspool that LinkedIn is now.
Yeah.
I need a shower after just going in there. But, there's some people that are doing it right, but there's also some people not doing it very well. So we took that.
A lot of people that ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah. And that's why I say marketers ruin everything. But it's funny to see the evolution of that. So our emails stopped getting responses and things started dwindling and dying. So we had to adjust. And what we've found is, I know you're a big proponent. Obviously, we're on a podcast right now.
Sure.
But you're a big proponent of podcasts. And one of the things that we leverage and have for a couple of years is podcasts. Not only me as a guest, which it's fewer and far between because I'm not actively seeking to be a guest right now. But
this is going to change everything for you for sure. This episode.
Yeah. It's fine.
Of course.
And I always say yes. That's the thing. It's funny how that goes. I don't care if you're a brand new show and I'm episode 2, I've been on, some pretty massive shows, and it's pretty humbling at the same time. But I also want to come from the place of giving in the marketplaces, which how we built the entire company. It's just, we educated so much and we continue to do so.
It's funny. Education was your original concept. And you changed the business model or the way that you generate revenue, but it's still core to what you do.
Yeah, I still educate. Every time I get on the phone, every time I do anything, I'm very just giving with my time and value. And whether we can help or not, I'm going to help you in some way. And I've just lived by that my entire career. But podcasts to us have been a big lever mover. We sponsored a lot.
That's awesome. Continue
to do so. We just signed a big sponsorship deal with Entrepreneurs on Fire. I was just on that show, and it was, and we had sponsored some other podcasts leading up to that. And we kind of figured out the pieces that kind of go in for that, coupled with some paid media and some other content pushes and building that social awareness. And that's really what's been driving us, mixed in with our referrals, because,
awesome.
When you do good things, people tend to refer you to others.
Right. Yeah. But it's good to diversify and have multiple different sources. Tell me about some of the challenges you've had. You talked a little bit about, the differences between what you bring to the table, your business partner bring to the table, but your business has grown tremendously, 1,000-something%. What have been some of the challenges with building out the team, and any particular like big challenges or crises you've had to overcome?
No major. There's obviously been some, because we've all lived through a lot of cycles.
Yeah.
But I remember we've had some challenges with hiring the wrong people, which I'm sure every business goes through that. Bringing bad, toxic culture into the business, which literally saturated everything else, where you couldn't even walk into the office without it being really tense. We don't have that anymore. We've solved that problem. That was a big obstacle for us. When we hit the pandemic and everything shut down, we thought we were talking what are we going to do? Are we going to close the doors, or what are we going to, we thought we were going to be 50% down because everybody was panicking. We didn't know.
A lot of businesses did. Yeah.
Little did we know that e-com would do what it did.
Yeah.
And it literally went the other direction, and we grew triple digits that year.
Wow.
And we had to figure it out very quickly how to be efficient, because we were no longer in the office. We were no longer together 4 days a week, at least. we didn't have those regular touch points. So we found out the inefficiencies very quickly.
Yeah.
And we're able to expand that into being virtual now and being more efficient than we ever were. We've had those challenges, of course, other business challenges where we, spent our last, wasn't sure if we're going to be able to make payroll because we just spent our last money on a trade show event sponsorship. And, we're just trying to do the best we could, but we've learned from every single mistake we made. And at least I like to think so, but there's always more to learn and more to evolve. Right. And we come up with new challenges every single day, but we're in a good place, and, we built something pretty substantial, and, we seem to be doing good work. And I kind of continually tell our staff that too. It's not about us. It's not about our clients. It's about the millions of people that we have an impact on. And we impacted, I think we did a tally, 140 some odd million unique visitors last year.
Wow.
Some of our marketing got in front of. So,
wow.
That's impacting a lot of people with some cool products and services. So,
yeah. Do you ever turn down a product or service, be like, no, we're not going to work on that?
Oh yeah. All the time. There's one this morning that somebody reached out to me, and I was like, what
was the rationale behind it? Why did you not?
Well, I'm quick to say no if we can't help. It's just I don't want to force a relationship and then have that animosity there.
So it wasn't any personal reason behind the product itself.
No, not that. We've had a few of those where it's just like, hey, we don't quite align with that.
Like I just had someone reach out to be a guest on my podcast, and he'd started like a cannabis cigarette company. And I was like, I'm not going to interview it.
I had a cannabis company. It's like, I can't help you there.
I don't have anything against cannabis, but it was selling cigarettes basically,
Yeah. I had a large porn site reach out to us not long ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't even reply. I was just like, it's to each their own, but I was just like, I just can't see bringing that kind of tension in just to chase a buck.
Right.
And we're fortunate enough we don't have to. And I think there's some power in that. But yeah, I tell people no all the time.
Yeah.
There's
real power in that. Talk to me about, you've got a fitness client that came to you. They had a under 1% conversion rate. So 100,000 visitors are coming to their site and 1,000 actually do anything. They were doing $250,000 a year selling fitness hardware equipment, and talk about
a month. Yeah. At that time,
$250 a month.
So they were doing decent. Decent scale product, usually kind of where we fall in is kind of that north of 1 million revenue.
Yeah.
And up. So they were a couple million in revenue, and they turned their yearly into their monthly.
Wow.
Through expansion. Obviously it's not all us because they did some great things on the traffic side, but we were able to optimize their site quite well. And we were able to optimize the site quite well. That took them from sub 1% to 4.5%, I think was the peak. And we basically took their average order value and upped it like $50. So they were able to scale. They're getting VC interest now for venture capitalist raise, and even talks of potentially IPO down the road. So, they're bigger. They have a couple different brands, but it's pretty cool to see kind of how that's evolved, and seeing how, over the course of, 14, 15 months, we were able to dramatically help scale this company.
Right. Right. And you intentionally you focus on e-commerce, correct?
We still have some subscription companies, some lead gen stuff that we do, but I would say 97% of what we do is e-com.
Yeah. Because it's natural, or it's obvious the benefits for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Talk to me about what you're excited about going into we're recording this at the beginning of 2022. E-commerce has exploded in growth. And so many companies have realized they need to go through this digital transformation. So there's greater awareness now than there's ever been of the type of work that you do and the importance of the work that you do. But at the same time, the ball's constantly changing, or the game is changing, I imagine, for you. What are you excited about?
Well, I'm kind of excited about the more adaptation of probably AI than a lot of it. I still don't think it's there yet from a user experience perspective, but it's getting there. And we're looking at that for some things on the future, but I think it's going to be hard to remove that personal element. But I think the combination of the two, it's going to be able to help some of those predictive behaviors in the visitor's journey. On the customers, and particularly personalization aspect and expanding on that.
I could certainly see software platforms like these conversion rate optimization websites or software, or you mentioned like a lead pages or something, like integrating AI into them. But to my knowledge, I can't imagine they've done that yet. It's probably down the pike.
Yeah, there's some spin ups that are trying, but it's not there yet. Still the manual element. I'm also watching closely and pivoting to more broad optimization versus very linear, because attribution is becoming harder and harder. Who knows what iOS 16 is going to do to Facebook, and their tracking, and you just never know what Facebook alone is going to do with their ad platforms, what Meta is going to do. So we have to kind of be mindful of that overall omnichannel approach and very holistic approach to optimization and experience optimization, because there's some things you can't necessarily quantify. So we have to be very mindful of that. And that's kind of the direction we've been shifting over the last about year or so, is just being very more holistic in the approach and not so black and white as, hey, we changed the button color and it rates to lower the conversion rate.
So what does that look like when you say holistic? Just looking at the entire business, looking at other pieces that people touch or that a buyer touches? Yeah.
So, you're looking at it from an overall experience. So how people interact with a brand, what truly matters to them as a visitor. And if we can create a better experience for them on site using our experimentation and using, qualitative and quantitative data, everything becomes more effective. Not only does conversion rate go up, but average order value, revenue per visitor, lifetime value, return customer rate, heck, customer support complaints we've seen go down, cost per acquisition. And then you have the viral aspect of it that you can't necessarily quantify. So it's like, hey, I had this great experience on this website. This product's amazing. Hey, my 5 friends here's where I got it. Type situation that doesn't necessarily come back to an attribution window. They're not searching for it necessarily.
Right.
They're not getting shown an ad unnecessarily. They're not hearing a radio ad, all of the omnichannel approach. So we kind of look at things from an overall scalability month over month, quarter over quarter basis versus a very linear, here's what we made the change and here's what the conversion rate. Right. Because you can scale something without the conversion rate necessarily going up.
It's funny. Yesterday, I just did a call with a gifting company, done for you gifting company. And they sent me this email to send me a gift so I can see what the platform's like. And they had this cute little thing where you click on the link and then you go to the website and you choose a gift. And then, but before you choose it, you like scratch off the page, kind of scratch like a scratcher type of thing. Yep. I've never seen something like that before.
Yeah, they gamified it.
Exactly right. And it was just like a minor little touch. But to what you were saying about like the experience that you have with the brand, it was such a nice touch that they did something like that. And it's nothing I'd seen before too.
Yeah. And that's it too, is trying to do the same with being different, like, at the same time. So coming up with clever ways to showcase different things and make people feel all warm and fuzzy, and without using the tricks, gimmicks, tactics to kind of do it, but making it fun and exciting. And that's a great example.
Right. Justin, I want to wrap things up with my last question, my gratitude question. So I'm a big fan of gratitude. So, if you look around, especially professionally, at your peers and contemporaries, could be others in your industry, could be mentors, but others that are doing good work today, like who would you want to just publicly call out and recognize? And by the way, I asked the exact same question of Marty McDonald when I interviewed him. And that's, I've known you, we'd been connected on Facebook for a bunch of years. But, he said your name and I was like, you know what? I've never interviewed him. And Jeremy had interviewed before, but I was like, I'm going to reach out to Justin because he just raved about you. So who would you mention?
And it's funny because usually my go-to guy is Marty. In this situation, it's twofold. Marty and I have gotten to be really good friends over the years. And he's one of the first that I call should I need something or have advice. In fact, he does a lot of our marketing and helps us out on the paid and social side. But I've got a very small circle of influence, I guess you'd say. My circle's gotten really tight. And one other person that's in our group with Marty is a guy by the name of Joey Gilkey.
Mm-hmm. Who he also mentioned, by the way.
Yeah.
I know Joey as well.
Yeah. Joey is a very giving, very straightforward, very humble person for what he does. He not only just wants you to succeed in business, but he wants you to succeed in life. And he shows that in all ways. That, I mean, whether it's just us casually talking or it's in a bigger setting, he just truly wants to make the world a better place. And I'm grateful to call him friend.
Awesome. Yeah. Another guy who probably keeps his chiropractor very busy, former professional or former collegiate athlete, football player. So,
yeah, he's gotten knocked around a little bit.
Yeah, yes. Justin, this has been great. Where can people go to learn more about you and connect with you?
Conversionfanatics.com is one spot. If you want to find out information about my book, all of that fun things, read some cool blog articles, or maybe you don't. But if you want to connect on social, you can go to onespotsocial.com/Justin Christianson, all one word. That gives links all over YouTube, my social channels. I'm accessible. So if anybody needs anything, to let me know.
Excellent, Justin. Thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Smart Business Revolution podcast with John Corcoran. Find out more at smartbusinessrevolution.com. And while you're there, sign up for our email list and join the revolution.
Revolution.
And be listening for the next episode of the Smart Business Revolution podcast.